a group of companies proving with lots of business in different areas, and we're focusing on IT specifically in terms of robotics, virtual augmented reality, and also AI products. So today we will talk about one piece about virtual and augmented reality. So if you want to know anything else, just reach me out afterwards. So we are mainly focused on GCC, Emirates, Saudi, but also present throughout the world in Europe, US and Canada. Today for VR, we'll be covering few cases and things that we develop for different industries. So you can interact with your joysticks, you can interact with your voice, and you can interact also with the hand tracking. In most of the also ACC support this, so you can interact with your own hands and utilize the tools with your feelings. Okay, let's start with the healthcare, what we're doing here and what are the outcomes that we have so far and how we can be helpful. So we are focusing on three main areas. First is medical skill training or simulation. Then the patient's care, how to improve the patient experience throughout the hospital or any healthcare organization, and also autism therapy. Let's start with our goals for medical training. So we already observed that VR gives better knowledge retention and gathering, which means students are collecting knowledge better from the start there after a certain time, which means retention, right? After a few months, we can see that comparing to simulation like mannequins or patients and VR is on top of the knowledge that is remaining in the students' heads. Then, of course, this is more cost effective in a way that you don't need to invest lots of money from the start. It's just VR and the software intake. So imagine that you could not customize the physical mannequin or patient to the way you want, unfortunately. But in VR, you can customize this from visuals to all the tools, to all the results, to all the visuals that you want to utilize for education. So we'll just come to a few examples in a second. These are just a few examples that I've mentioned. Like, for example, for the particular skills, right? There is auscultation to hear the sounds of heart and lungs. Then you can also work with equipment, for example, CT equipment, to train yourself on the risk-free environment, how to utilize this in a safe way. In terms of visual, you can also examine the rashes, which are, of course, not always available in the real patients. And then some other cases in terms of ultrasound, endoscopic examinations, and complex examinations as well, when you're not using only one scale, but you're using the complex examination to train yourself in the real life environment. So let me give you a few examples. So it's exactly how the skill training is looking. So you can see the patients. It can be male, female, or customized to any model that will fit into particular curriculum or needs. And then you are able to hear particular sounds and auscultation abnormalities that are possible in real world, but not available at this point. At the same time, you can see that it's real life environment. There are patients, you can rotate them, you can switch to pathologists. So there's so many things that can be put in one thing, comparing to involving different tools or different people into it. Complex examination, so it's not only about one skill, it's a complex thing to diagnose patient and what's happening and make sure that the students and doctors can utilize the tools available in a proper order, in a proper manner, and make sure that they are using these tools according to protocols. So here you can see there is a patient, of course, different look, and this is also part of examination, right? So you need to see different signs, what's going on with the patient visually. Plus, there are some lab analysis that you can order, and then you can see also the MRI, CT, and all the scans that you can also supply as an organization to this particular case. So we're already doing lots of implementations, and you can see that this is real environment where students are using this in the course. And now I want to share also the outcomes, what we see now. So as I mentioned, this was implementation for particular skill training for auscultation. So we can see that it's 40+% recognition of sounds right after the course, which is knowledge gathering. And then it's 120% retention after 3 months. So students are having more knowledge after a certain time, which means that they're remaining in their head and then they utilize this during their practice. And one more important point that, of course, we are all about technology, but the people are also important. So we want to make sure that people are not suffering during the education process. That's why also we're doing the engagement or NPS scoring, which is also quite high. So we're sure that this is engaging And this is, I think, two sides of the same coin. If you get into knowledge and it's engaging, that it's work all together and complement each other. All right, then the next area we want to showcase is also about the patient care, and our objective there is to improve patient experience overall, to make sure that it's better for parents, for kids, for nurses, for doctors. Then we also see that there is a value in terms of faster recovery. So when the patient is coming and they have more comfort, relaxed state, it's not only the mental but also physical. If we're measuring the heart rate, the breath rate, and blood pressure as well, then they are joining with the lower attributes, and they are also coming out with all lower attributes after the manipulation, which means that it's lower recovery cycle overall. And finally, we're also improving this efficiency for hospitals and clinics when we're helping especially kids to, from one side, again, improve the experience they have, from other side, to help nurses to direct kids to what they need to do, because things should happen anyway, and VR is helping there to make it more efficient in terms of timing and overall procedure. These are just few examples on what areas we're targeting. Of course, this is pediatrics, and this is one of the live examples where the doctor is visiting the patient. And we're focusing on is autism therapy. This is still lots of R&D going on our side. We see the evidences, but not the data yet that we can share that is helpful. And it's helpful in a way that we can create the very simple environment that we can fully control in terms of visual and also in terms of sounds. Because it's for people with autism, it's very important to not have over stimulation from any source, and to help them to progress into their trainings and skills they want to train. We're helping them to build this insight, to start with very simple and then gradually improve it, so they can then move the skills they have learned in VR in a very simple and a controllable environment to the real life. So this is also a live example of the kid who is learning how to cross the road. And there are also different things, like now you can see the empty street, then we can add people, we can add car, we can add nighttime. So what is our target here, and what we have seen already with a few kids, that before they were not understand what and why they should do. After certain training in the safe environment, they have put the skill in real life. They can pass the street with a parent, and then it's okay, this is like red light, this is the street, I need to pass from here to here. And VR helps a lot to replicate the real world, but not in a way that is the same, but in a way that it's controllable and as simple as possible. Basically, this is what we're talking about now in terms of simulation training. This is one platform, so it's not the separate apps. This is one thing. And then you have, depending on your subscription, in terms of what you want to utilize, what you don't want to utilize, you can get CT training for the equipment, you can get the patient examination, you can get auscultation, you can get ultrasound. So it's a platform that is flexibly configured for your needs. Let's say if the university curriculum requires only 2 things of many, that's fine. If they require 10 of many, that's also fine. The other things we're also working on, which is not part of the healthcare, but also where the VR is helping for education, presence, etc. So we're also working in safety trainings in many ways, in terms of how to train engineers to work with electrical, gas, construction, fire safety, industrial safety, etc. So there are many cases. For some of them, we are following the protocols that are available on the public use to make sure that it's fulfilled. On other cases, we're also helping companies to develop their own protocols, what they want to utilize. For example, for electrical training, there are companies who are doing specific solution, and they want their engineers or support engineers on customer side to utilize exactly their solution. So we're helping them to visualize and bring all the protocols to this environment, so they can always support the engineers with education and training or retraining if required. So by doing this, we're also making sure that it's not just the education, we also consider that it's reduce of cost. This is no harm for humans, no risk, no equipment, no space. There's as much repetition as possible. So what you need is just the headset, and it's all there. So there is no risk, there is nothing else that you need to set up. For architecture and design, and this helps companies to visualize what they are building, what they can build or planning to build. Let's say the customers come into the architecture company who is maybe doing the project as a design, or they're also doing construction, and they want to buy apartment or a villa. And of course, you can see these charts and plans, but you also want to see how it feels. And this is actually what you're doing. This is example of real life example of the apartment, where you can see what will be my kitchen, what will be my bathroom, what will be my living room. And here it's not even built, but you can already experience and say, okay, I understand the plan, but I also understand the visuals. So for customers, it's more engagement. And for the companies, this is more conversion, of course, because customers will commit more to the visuals. And you can also see that design is unlimited. So this is one picture. So you can see that the textures are changed immediately. And this helps also for clients to design what they exactly want, because you have so many things, right, in terms of furniture, floors, walls, whatever, and you can already see how it will fit together. So it's not only visualization, but it's also selection of the design. So you can just sign off and then come to your apartment or villa, and you know exactly how it will feel. And you can also go here, see here, go to the other apartment, etc. Then the other area we're also working on is about marketing and events. So VR is helping, like you can see this on GITEX a lot. If you go to Oracle, if you go to AWS, you will see this Oculus everywhere. We're also helping companies to present their services, to present their products, to present their companies. In a way that the value we see is that it's higher engagement, because it's immersive experience, you can addict to it a lot. And then, of course, improved conversions as an outcome. And the most important part here is that you can visualize everything that could not be done physically. Even if you can see on GITEX these rich stands, not everything is possible, right? In VR, you can build anything. You can bring your truck, you can build your engineering stuff, you can build your building here and present it immediately. Then, of course, we're supporting all the technologies and headsets in the market. As soon as we're talking about HTC, we support all the things that they have on the market, and there are different cases which are suited to different headsets. For example, for Flow, this is the very lightweight, simple one, which can be used for patient care. For Focus, we're using this a lot for the medical simulation, because they have all the stuff. And recently they have added lots of cool features that we're also going to introduce. But otherwise, any device that is on the market, we are able to support this. This is not an issue. And just to summarize what we covered today in terms of healthcare, architecture, design, marketing, what else we have, and the benefits, what we're stating for VR in general. So we're reducing the cost and time for training in any of these areas. We're making sure that there is no risk if it's for equipment, if it's for people. We're reducing the space, which is also important in many cases. Like you can imagine the mannequin and how long it will take. If you have like 3 mannequins, I know how they're stored, like this, but still you can save place in terms of storage and optimize your physical environment as well. Then VR is super easy to set up. We're scalable to any amount of devices, so this is nothing that required to scale this to 10 devices or 100 devices. It's all the same. Talking specifically about the healthcare, we're also able to combine this into one platform. So you have one thing that you can access. You don't need to go anywhere else to connect anything. You can just have one application that you can utilize for different cases. And yeah, as I mentioned, the most important parts are that it's highly customizable. So you can replicate anything that is not in the physical world. You can replicate this in virtual one. Plus, to any kind of training, you get better knowledge retention and training. But of course, if it's designed properly.